In the late 19th century, one European king acquired a territory larger than Western Europe. It was not a colony of his nation. It was his personal property. This territory was called the Congo Free State. Its owner was King Leopold II of Belgium. Leopold never set foot in the Congo. He ruled it from Europe through decrees, companies, and armed agents. Officially, the Congo Free State was presented as a humanitarian project, a mission to bring civilization, Christianity, and trade. In reality, it functioned as a privately owned labor camp. The Congo was rich in ivory. Later, it became rich in rubber. Global demand exploded, and Leopold moved quickly. Villages were ordered to meet rubber quotas. Failure was punished, not with fines, not with imprisonment, but with violence. The colonial force enforcing these quotas was known as the force publique. It was composed of European officers and African soldiers under coercion. Their task was simple: extract resources, suppress resistance, maintain fear. Men were forced into the forests to collect rubber. Women and children were often taken hostage to ensure compliance. If quotas were not met, punishment followed. Hands were cut off, not as chaos, but as accounting. A severed hand proved that a bullet had been used correctly. Human bodies became inventory. Entire villages were burned. Populations fled into forests. Famine followed. Disease spread. The death toll is estimated in the millions. Exact numbers remain unknown, not because the deaths were undocumented, but because they were never counted as lives. Reports eventually reached Europe. Missionaries, journalists, and former officials began to speak. Photographs circulated. Testimonies circulated. The scale of the violence became undeniable. Yet Leopold denied responsibility. Blame was shifted to local agents. The system remained intact. International pressure grew, not because African lives were valued, but because the image of Europe was at risk. In 1908, Belgium took control of the Congo from Leopold. The Congo Free State officially ended. The suffering did not. No trials were held. No king was prosecuted. Leopold died wealthy. Monuments were built in his honor. The victims remained unnamed. The Congo Free State was not an accident. It was not a failure of oversight. It was a business model. Designed, managed, profitable. This was not a colony. It was a privately owned hell. By the late 1890s, the Congo Free State was no longer an experiment. It was a machine. Its purpose was extraction. Its fuel was fear, and its owner remained distant. King Leopold II ruled the Congo through paper. Orders crossed oceans. Quotas were set in ink. Failure was reported in numbers. Human lives never appeared in the margins. Rubber had replaced ivory as the central obsession. Wild rubber vines grew deep in the forests. Collecting them required time and strength, and entire villages were forced to provide both. Men were sent into the forest for weeks. If they returned with too little rubber, punishment followed. If they tried to flee, punishment followed. If they resisted, entire communities paid the price. The force publique enforced this system. Their presence alone was often enough, but when it wasn't, violence became routine. Not chaotic, not uncontrolled, routine. Hands were severed not in rage, but for proof. A bullet was expensive. A severed hand justified its use. This was accounting. Women and children were taken hostage. They were held in camps while men collected rubber. Starvation became leverage. Fear became policy. The landscape itself changed. Villages emptied. Forests swallowed abandoned paths. Rivers carried silence where trade once flowed. Those who survived often bore no visible wounds, but their communities were gone, their structure erased, their future interrupted. Reports reached Europe. Missionaries let letters. Journalists published accounts. Photographs circulated. The evidence was clear. The reaction was slow. Leopold denied responsibility. He claimed abuses were exaggerated. He blamed individual agents. The system remained untouched. The outrage that finally forced change did not come from empathy. It came from embarrassment. Europe feared what this truth revealed about itself. In 1908, the Belgian state took control of the Congo. The Congo Free State ceased to exist. Its methods did not. There were no trials, no international tribunal, no punishment proportional to the crime. Leopold retained his wealth. His monuments remained. The victims were absorbed into statistics. Millions lost. No complete count, only estimates, because the dead were never meant to be remembered. The Congo Free State was not a deviation. It was a precedent, a demonstration of what was possible when power operated without accountability. Silence was not a failure of history. It was part of the design.
The archive does not speak loudly. It waits. If this record was unfamiliar to you, then it has already done its work. This channel exists to document what history chose not to emphasize. This is the Unspoken Archives.